This previously uploaded video now includes our 2024 winter testing. If this is your first time watching, welcome and please enjoy. If you're returning for our winter test results, you can use the chapters feature to jump straight to that section right after our road, wet, and dry results summary.
All right, Brent, it's the first test of 2024. It's an EV focused test. So we've done EV testing, actually quite a bit of EV testing in the past, but it was always just two tires. We had two Teslas, so it was tire versus tire, mono a mono. And we learned a lot about those products, but we always wanted more. We wanted to cover more and expand, right?
In fact, in this test, we're testing 9 different specs. Not only that, but we're testing cross-category. We have Grand Touring all-season tires in this test. We have ultra-high performance all-season tires in this test. Even 2 max performance summer-only tires in this test. So that'll answer questions that we've had through the years and certainly that our customers have been asking. Now, not only that, there's more. We're also testing EV-specific tires to maybe non-EV specific tires that weren't engineered necessarily from the ground up to be used on EVs, but tires we know EV customers are buying and are very popular with those customers.
Certainly, and some of these tires we've tested before. They're old favorites that we have a pretty good idea of how they perform. Others have been on the market for a little bit, but like I said, we could only test 2 tires at a time before, so we haven't really gotten around to testing them yet. And others are brand new, exciting, hot off the presses 2024 new releases that really nobody has tested yet. So we're going to get a full comprehensive picture of how these tires perform. It's going to be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go and get started on road rides. We talk about the road ride portion of our testing quite a bit, but I don't think we've ever done a really good job of explaining what it is. This is where we figure out what drivers will live with every day that they have their tires for.
Their 95% of tire experience happens on the road ride.
We have a 6-mile loop around the Tire Rack headquarters that consists of a wide variety of surface types, condition, age. You know, some of it's really well maintained, some of it is very broken. And so we talk about ride quality determined by, you know, how well the car rides over broken surfaces. It's not just about softness, but it's also about control and composure over impacts. Second thing is noise comfort.
So and it's noise comfort, not noise volume.
Right. Yep. It's not purely about decibels. Then the last thing is steering and on-road handling, which that kind of wordy description just talks about, A, how does it feel driving straight ahead, you know, at around town speeds, at highway speeds, and then also just light steering maneuvers. Does the car respond the way you want it to? Does the steering feel natural and intuitive? Those kind of general steering and light handling characteristics. So now let's get started.
Spec 1, Bridgestone Tarrant EV. So ride quality overall, tuned towards the softer side, very comfortable, maybe could use a little bit better composure, a little bit better control over the body.
But absolute comfort is good.
Noise, similarly, overall, very good. And then steering, it's light, quick, accurate, but we would like a little bit more personality to it, right?
Right.
This is the Continental Pro Contact RX, and it's the T1 spec in parentheses. And that means it is the original equipment Tesla tire. It is a composed, controlled, slightly taut ride. Right now we're on the highway. It's coarse here. I'm noticing a little bit of a grindy type interaction.
Yeah, more just elevated general noise levels. Not bad, but I'm having to raise my voice maybe a little more than I would expect. This is rough concrete.
When you are on a smooth surface, it is whisper quiet. It's everything that you'd expect from an EV driving experience.
And the steering right here through the off-ramp, it is very good. It's on the sportier side of what I would expect from a touring tire like this.
All right, we're in Spec 3, which is the Goodyear Eco Ready. It's very eco-focused, which kind of goes right along with the whole electric vehicle thing.
It does feel, though, just perhaps a little uncontrolled, a little jiggly.
There is a little bit of that, it does a good job. Over big bumps, it rounds them over really nicely. Let's talk about steering. And
how is the steering?
It's not great.
It's a little weird.
It's not great. It's a little unnatural.
TJ?
It's a little non-linear. It is pretty vague and doesn't respond super sharply. right on center and around center, and then it builds up both weight and response once you're pretty far off center. This is the Goodyear Electric Drive 2, and let's just get it out of the way. It's
great.
It's great. Everything's composed and controlled.
And it's controlled.
It's
stop.
Right. It somehow manages to be comfortable, composed, forgiving, big impacts, little impacts.
Sure, there's a little bit of that kind of concrete resonance, but that's almost an unavoidable way.
Right. It's basically impossible to get rid of that. The aspect that, can sometimes be overlooked is steering, as far as just feel and precision and weight and buildup of effort as you're, mid-corner. It checks all of those boxes. Hankook Ion Evo AS. And this one is probably the most hyped EV tire.
You can really feel everything.
Right.
I think I called it transparent. Some other tires, they soak things up just a little bit better.
Yeah, they hide things. They round them over. They mute some of the smaller impacts. Whereas this one, like you said, you can feel everything. Lots of tires, really, really concentrating on being quiet.
Right.
And you've got a group of them that are really, really strong at that in this test. And I would say the Hankook is just outside of that group. Yeah. Steering is good, not great.
Yeah.
It doesn't have any really bad habits. It's not particularly engaging. And it always feels like it's just a little bit behind the driver. Yeah. And we're switching categories, performance categories. We went from Grand Touring all season to now we're in Ultra High Performance all season.
Yep.
This is the Michelin Pilot Sport all season 4. And despite it not being an EV focused tire, it's one of the best selling tires for Teslas specifically.
EV drivers love this tire.
Right. EV drivers love this tire. If they don't love it, they sure do buy the heck out of it.
Not only are little bumps there, yes, but it's just the more medium-sized undulations are just felt more. That stiffer casing with the tire just kind of reveals the less smooth parts of the road.
It feels like a performance tire because it is a performance tire.
Weird.
Yeah, I know, right? Noise. It's louder.
It's a UHPL season tire.
Yes.
Yeah, it is. It's a little bit louder.
We're on the home stretch.
Yep, our second UHPL season.
Correct. Only this time it's an EV focused, or at least it's marketed as an EV focused ultra high performance all season. It's the Yokohama Advanced Sport AS.
Coming at it from a UHPL season side of things, it is pretty comfortable. Big bumps. The peaks seem well rounded, like they've chopped them off.
Yeah, what about noise?
Is pretty good as well.
Yeah. It has good steering feel, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, what about the steering? And in the back of your mind, everything is just, I won't call it telepathic, but it's almost like, it's just doing what you ask of it.
Right. It just feels natural.
Yeah.
And right. Alrighty, boy, here we are.
Yeah.
Spec 8, and we are finally into these summer tires. This is the Michelin Pilot Sport 4S. It's refined. It's firm. It's taut.
Yeah.
It's performance tire, almost stiff. Not quite. I won't quite say that word, but that's kind of comfortable expected.
It's a performance tire way.
Steering feel.
Yeah.
I am a sucker for good steering. That is my favorite attribute to evaluate. That's the most important thing to me for a tire, and I fell in love. The only mild complaint that I have about the steering on this tire is at low speeds, it is a little bit light. It firms up nicely at any kind of, anything over 45, basically, it firms up. But straight ahead at, 30 to 40, it's a little bit light. This is the Pirelli P0 PZ4. And this one's a little interesting because Pirelli doesn't build this necessarily the line as an EV focused tire, but this size is Elect branded. Ride quality is composed, controlled, maybe a little bit more total up and down motion. Noise, similar story. You can tell it's a performance tire. There are some tones, and steering is quick, eager, fun. Yep, there we go.
Don't need that back there.
You have to pay no attention. Laptop in the back seat. Yeah, so good all around.
To compare the tires in our test, we put each tire through the same 100-mile loop, and we report the vehicle indicated watt-hours per mile, and also calculate what the hypothetical range could be at full charge.
The EV-specific tires delivered some of the best efficiency, with the Hankook Ion Evo AS achieving the lowest consumption values on average over the 100-mile loop. While not necessarily touted as an EV-focused tire, Goodyear's EcoReady also provided good efficiency and bested the Tesla's own original equipment Continental Pro Contact RX. Essentially matching the OE tire, the Electric Drive 2 and Yokohama Advanced Sport EVAS delivered equivalent consumption performance. While the P0 PZ4 is branded with Pirelli's Elect marking, it's still a max performance summer tire, so its OE comparable consumption performance was an impressive surprise for our team. Bridgestone's Turanza EV rounded out the group of tires that could effectively match the vehicle's OE range performance. The Michelin Pilot Sport 4S and Pilot Sport All Season 4 did stand out as marginally different than the others in the test, with adequate but worse consumption performance. Both would probably consume appreciably more energy than one of the touring tires, but when we did the math for what the theoretical range reduction would be on our Tesla Model 3s, our team agreed that the approximately 18 and 23-mile change wouldn't be a deal breaker for a driver with access to daily charging.
All right, braking and skid pad testing. Let's explain those a little bit. And for this EV test, we are measuring 50 to 0 mile an hour braking distances in the wet and in the dry. And it can be the difference between a near miss and not a near miss, right?
Not to fearmonger or scare people, but you know, if I'm in traffic and things start to bunch up and maybe I'm not 100% paying attention, and all of a sudden I'm hard on those brakes, I want every bit of braking ability so I don't touch that car in front of me or worse.
Right. Okay, and then cornering traction, lateral grip. We take a 200-foot or several laps around our 200-foot diameter skid pad, and we report the number in lateral Gs. But why would that matter to somebody?
I am doing a corner, and all of a sudden the road didn't turn the way I thought it was, or something.
I overcooked it. I misjudged something. Yeah. Right.
You want all the reserve grip possible, so you can continue to make that corner, make your correction, get around, miss whatever you wanted to miss. So
of course.
The difference between oh, that was close, and call your insurance company.
Absolutely. Yep.
Both of the Max Performance summer tires were right at home on the wet surface, and not surprisingly, both could maintain an average cornering force over 9/10 of a G around the skid pad. While the Ultra High Performance All Season Pilot Sport All Season 4 was about 0.04 of a G behind the P0 PZ4, it managed to outbrake both of its summer tire counterparts in an impressive 92.3 feet. Heading up the Touring All Season group was the Goodyear EcoReady, which almost matched these wet performance frontrunners and genuinely put a smile on our faces. Once it hit us, this was a 70% sustainable Grand Touring all-season tire. The original Equipment Pro Contact RX was certainly no slouch, and while it was slightly back, maintained its competitiveness with the main group. Falling back into a somewhat noticeable group of stragglers of sorts were the Turanza EV, Electric Drive 2, Ion Evo AS, and somewhat surprisingly, because of its higher performance category, the Advanced Sport EV AS. In order to get the whole picture of performance, our test switched from the wet to dry, which naturally gave each of the tires in the test a boost in absolute grip. Once again though, the most performance-focused category of tires delivered the shortest stopping distances and the highest lateral traction levels with their summer-only compounds and larger, more aggressive tread features. Showing its performance chops, although at an all-season level, the Pilot Sport All-Season 4 needed just over 5 feet longer to stop and maintained a respectable 9/10 of a G around the skid pad. Its fellow ultra-high-performance all-season competitor once again seemed to deliver braking distances and cornering forces that fell in line with the touring tires, but didn't challenge the three frontrunners. The two Goodyears and the Hankook stopped in similar fashion and delivered respectable cornering traction, with the Ion Evo AS coming in just shy of the leaders. Impressively, the Pro Contact RX nearly matched the Max Performance Summer P0 PZ4 in lateral traction, but fell to the back of the pack in braking distances. Matching the Continental's frankly acceptable dry braking was the Turanza EV, but luckily the Bridgestone's lateral traction was right in line with the group of touring tires.
Okay, let's talk track testing, because this is probably the one aspect of what we do that I suppose for just average drivers is probably a little bit difficult to relate. How is this applicable to me? And it's not just about the lap time. Our track testing gives a complete picture of the overall capability of a tire. And so if you see a 1 second difference in lap times, that makes a big difference to what you are going to experience every time you accelerate, brake, or corner. And so we divide it out into 4 subjective criteria that we evaluate when we are on the track. So first is braking behavior. How well does the car slow down on that tire? But also, how well does it communicate with you? How does it feel? So after braking behavior, it's steering characteristics, which is a huge one for anybody that actually enjoys the act of driving. You know, how responsive is the tire? Does it give me the right proportion of turning response? Yes, to what I expected it to be. You know, is it slow? Is it disconnected? Does it feel natural? Yep, and then cornering traction is the next thing, which how much grip does it have through the turns? How much speed can I maintain through turns of all sizes and shapes? And then the last is handling and balance, which kind of encompasses sort of everything, but it's also just the athleticism of the tire, the willingness of the tire. Is it doing what I want it to do, and is it happy about that?
When it came time to combine absolute grip with handling characteristics, the order stayed mostly the same, but with some surprises. Luckily, the 2 summer tires had both grip and balance, which delivered not only the quickest, but most easily controlled laps.
This is the Michelin Pilot Sport 4S.
It's forgiving at the limit. It's got a high limit to begin with. It's just easy to drive. It's inch perfect.
Our Pirelli P0 PZ4. So it is graceful. It is beautiful. It is easy to drive. It doesn't have quite the outright traction to what the PS4S does.
So close.
Whereas the Pirelli, it wants to glide around a little bit more, wants to move around a little bit more. It has very eager steering, but it never feels like it overpowers what the available traction can provide you.
Following closely behind was the ultra-high performance all-season Michelin, but its category counterpart, the Advanced Sport EVAS, found itself as the slowest in the test, over a 1.5 seconds behind and even bested by the touring tires.
The Michelin Pilot Sport All-Season 4, and this is a non-EV focused tire.
You really lean on things now here in the corners. It could use a little, I think, more accuracy and precision, I think you were saying, and I agree,
Yeah,
absolutely. Overall, yeah, the braking is strong, like the lateral traction's strong.
It's the Yokohama Advanced Sport EVAS. A, you can tell that it has lower outright capability. And B, it kind of struggles to put everything together in a nice way. Now, that being said, if you just step back and drive it at 85-90%, it's really okay.
The Eco-Ready and Pro Contact RX were able to turn consistent and quick times, which would indicate they're more than up to the task for wet road unpredictability.
The Goodyear Eco-Ready.
Not too shabby. I really appreciate the strong braking. Is steering maybe a little bit wonky?
We found that on the road, right?
Yeah.
It's definitely not the favorite trait of this tire amongst our 2 test drivers here. The Continental Pro Contact RX T1. Steering is hefty, feels nice, has good precision to it. Yep. Overall, it feels like it's, again, a decent performer. It's a little bit edgy, though, at the limit. If you
Almost the price you pay for that sharper steering.
not a bad performance out of the original equipment tire.
The lower half of the touring tires felt subjectively weaker and turned out to be objectively slower. While they had enough grip to get the job done, they just had less of it than their counterparts, and a few had difficulties navigating dynamic maneuvers.
Wet track testing Bridgestone Turanza EV.
A lot of understeer. Braking, you really have to back up your corner.
Steering is quick and precise, but just like we found on the road, it's light. There's not really much feel or resistance. The Goodyear Electric Drive 2, it feels nice, but it's just eager and fluid and feels just right. It has a tendency to overpower. It kind of overestimates
Doesn't
itself,
have the traction to back
right?
up that steering.
Right? It's like an excited puppy, you know? Like it tries to run on the hardwood floor, and then all of a sudden, here comes the wall. We are now on the Hankook Ion Evo AS.
Steering, it's nice and pointy. If it had a little more traction to work with, I think it could do great things. Yeah, it's stepping out. I would say abruptly is a word for it.
Yeah, abrupt.
Especially if you're hard on the power and you haven't kind of set things up nice and smoothly.
Our team continued to find the differences, and sometimes lack of differences, in performance categories fascinating. Naturally, the two Max Performance summer tires found an advantage in almost every corner, which added up to a substantial objective advantage on the stopwatch and a subjective one felt in the driver's seat.
The Michelin Pilot Sport 4S.
Even as a passenger, things just feel faster, more aggressive.
Yes, you're engaging the core. It builds cornering force with less slip angle, so it's just less turn of the steering wheel to change direction. And when you're mid-corner, it has more grip. It's just hanging on more. The Pirelli P0 PZ4.
Everything just feels a little more elegant, just a little more put together.
It's not as pointy as what the Michelin is. You can tell it doesn't have quite the lateral traction, so it's not the save me at that. You know that you have to glide it around, and it feels athletic.
While somewhat overshadowed in braking, the Pro Contact RX was able to use every bit of its traction available, punching above its weight class and in fact lapping quicker than the very capable Pilot Sport All Season 4.
This is the Michelin Pilot Sport All Season 4.
It's pretty good. You can feel that, hey, something's different from the touring tires. This is a UHP All Season tire. Mm-hmm. It's easy to correct mistakes. It's forgiving, but it feels tight. Everything feels just a little tighter.
The Continental Pro Contact RX. It's kind of as much as you can expect, if not more, from a touring tire. Like, I like the steering a lot. Yeah, overall traction, again, feels great.
The Hankook Ion Evo AS also seemed particularly balanced and easy to drive, delivering times a hair off the aforementioned group.
Man, this thing is a pleasure to drive. It is a joy to drive.
It's easy to control, easy to kind of gauge, and steering is good. Overall traction and balance is good.
Yeah, as long as you don't try to push it too hard, as long as you don't go over its limits.
A bit further behind were the best of the rest, delivering what were perfectly adequate touring all-season laps. The Turanza EV once again felt slightly reluctant to quick maneuvers, and it showed with times that were fine for the category, but struggled for consistency.
It's reasonably balanced if you stay below its traction limit.
Over the limit, it tends to just kind of smear around a little bit. It's never snappy. It's acceptable, right?
Yeah, it is.
The Advanced Sport EVAS, however, was lapping significantly behind the pace of the touring tires, let alone its own ultra-high performance all-season compatriot, with an odd mix of handling characteristics and lower levels of traction, which only made the struggle worse.
I'm just being a little bit more gentle with it. I'm not trying to throw it around. I'm not braking deep and turning with big inputs. I'm just being gentle and very, very precise with it.
The steering, it can't really keep up, and then once it does eventually come back after your input's held, then the thing just wants to snap on you a little bit.
All right, that was what, 7, 8, 9 million days of testing. Put 9 specs through their paces. A lot of people try to tell you that if you drive an EV, you have to have an EV focused
mandatory
in your car, right?
Like it's state law or something. Yeah.
And
you'd be
just
crazy not to.
Over and over again that's not necessarily the case. If efficiency, range, whatever you want to call it, is your highest priority, then yeah, probably an EV focused tire will be your best bet.
Right.
But what the non-EV focused tires gave up in that realm wasn't even all that much.
It wasn't significant.
It was something, but yeah, it wasn't significant.
Especially not if you have access to daily charging. It's, unless you're really stretching the limit of your battery pack, you're probably just fine.
Right, especially when you consider that the non-EV focused tires were generally the strongest in the wet, in the dry. That's traction. That is, I hate to say it, but that is safety.
Another story we saw was the difference in categories. Our Grand Touring all-season tires, yes, there were differences, but typically the absolute smoothest, most comfortable, quietest tires were from the Grand Touring all-season category.
Right.
And then the ultra high performance all season. That story was, that was pretty interesting. There was kind of the tale of two tires there. Then of course, the Max Performance summer tires, which happened to be the technical winners of the test as far as our scoring goes.
Because of the way we evaluate, they are both strong on the road, and of course they rocked it on the track. And so they ended up at the top.
Okay, we've seen how this diverse group of tires from different performance categories with different performance focuses, even one in a different size.
Which is something we don't typically like to do. We don't like that extra variable.
Yeah, not generally, but regardless, we've tested them all. We've seen how they impact vehicle energy consumption. We've seen how they impact the daily drive and ride and noise comfort. We've seen how they do dry and wet traction and handling.
Yeah, and ice and snow traction is yet another opportunity for trade-offs. We found that a majority of EV drivers don't just park their car when it starts to snow and get out the old winter beater.
Right, and EVs, you know, like our Teslas and similar style EVs, they tend to have very sophisticated traction control systems that, especially when they're combined with all-wheel drive, they can get the vehicle up to speed alarmingly quickly in slippery conditions. But then when it comes time to stop or turn, it all comes down to the tires.
Yeah, and as they say, all vehicles have four-wheel stop.
They do.
So our testing is designed to go beyond that, beyond the differences in just traction control and drivetrain. For the ice, we test on a local ice rink on a polished ice surface for braking, and then we head up north to a dedicated winter testing facility where we test acceleration and braking on packed snow, and then we take them around a handling course to find out how each tire performs at and beyond the limit.
Yeah, as you hopefully expect by now, it's a very thorough evaluation process. So let's see what we found out.
In our 12 to 0 mile per hour braking test on the ice, the Goodyear EcoReady led the test, followed closely by the Bridgestone and Hankook to round out the top three, all coming to a stop in under 54 feet. The Yokohama, Goodyear Electric Drive 2, and OE Continental were clustered between 56 and 59 feet, and the Pilot Sport All Season 4 was a significant step back from the leader, requiring a full car length longer to stop from 12 miles an hour. We test 0 to 12 mile per hour acceleration and 25 to 0 mile per hour braking in the snow, and we measure both in feet, so we report the distance required to accelerate from a stop to 12 and the distance needed to bring the vehicle to a rest from 25. This allows us to add both measurements together to come up with a single number that's representative of each tire's straight line traction in the snow. We saw a huge spread across this group, with over 40 feet separating the best in test Turanza EV from the Pilot Sport All Season 4 at the back. If we look at the acceleration numbers, we can see they're somewhat tightly grouped, with 7 feet separating the best and the worst. The braking component is where we saw the biggest difference, with 18 feet separating the top two tires and 36 feet between the shortest and longest braking distance.
Of course, snow traction is about more than just how well a vehicle starts and stops. Roads still turn during the winter months, and sometimes drivers get into situations where they've asked for more traction than the tire can provide. Our subjective handling laps determine how well each tire behaves in those scenarios, and the objective lap times help provide a picture of a tire's capability when putting it all together. With the strongest outright traction in the test, the subjective evaluation was the Turanza EV's to lose. Fortunately, the lateral grip and overall behavior were nicely matched to its abilities, and it set the fastest average lap and earned the highest subjective score. The Ion Evo AS and Advanced Sport EV AS were balanced and nice to drive within their limits. And the EcoReady didn't have any bad habits, but it wasn't the most natural feeling to drive. The Pro Contact RX was notable because the rear was very eager to snap around with throttle application, and the Pilot Sport All Season 4 would rotate readily under braking or acceleration.
And there we have it. As far as pure wintertime capability, the Turanza EV is at the top of our list.
Yeah, bravo Bridgestone.
Yeah, it's followed closely behind though by the Ion Evo AS and the Advanced Sport EV AS. The Pilot Sport All Season 4 struggled a bit compared to the other tires at the back of the pack.
Right.
And then the two Goodyears and the Continental were good, just not really standouts.
Right, but if all you're concerned about is purely wintertime traction, you should really use a set of dedicated winter tires. So we're putting all of the attributes that we've evaluated together to create a 4-season score for every product in the test.
These were the overall standings from our road, wet, and dry evaluation. We're going to remove the summer tires since they're not suitable for use in freezing temperatures. And when we put the all-season tires together, we have a full picture of the year-round performance you can expect from this test set. The top 5 tires are very tightly grouped, with less than 1/10 of a point separating them. The EcoReady and Pilot Sport All Season 4 were acceptable, but somewhat less satisfying as 4-season options.
So we hope this information has kind of given you, the consumer and driver, everything you need to know about how these EV tires are going to affect your EV driving experience.
Yeah, we've had a great time putting this test together, and we look forward to doing it again next year. We're going to test more tires and anything new that comes out between now and then. So until then, as always, thanks for watching.